Hello, fellow addicts. Welcome back to Addicts Live, your internet escape from the craziness in the world. I'm Alissa, your resident head addict, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host to the north, Super Safi.
Happy Saturday morning, everyone. Hope everyone's wide awake and ready to go.
Yes, the Addicts Crew is back once again to bring you Simpsons news and Saturday smiles. And as always, before we get into this week's show, it is time for your regular reminder to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So hit that red button so you don't miss any of the addicts. And for those not watching this directly on YouTube, I will put a link to the subscribe button in the show notes below us. So let's get on with the show. We're back with another very special Addicts Live this week, celebrating the TSTO 10-year anniversary. As you can see, once again, it's not just Safi and I on the screen. This time you can actually see the person. We've got another very special guest this time. Brooders is here. Hi, Brooders.
Cheers, everybody.
Drinking a beer in true Brooders fashion. Brooders is from ToUk, for those who don't know, which is tapped-out.co.uk. Did I say that right?
That's right, yeah. ToUk for short.
Brooders has joined us to talk about 10 years of TSTO, take a little trip down TSTO memory lane. And Brooders is no stranger to Addicts Live. She's appeared on Addicts Live several years ago for what we talked about Halloween. I believe it was the Magic Halloween we talked about. So welcome back, Brooders. Welcome back to the craziness. So for this episode, we're going to take a little trip down TSTO memory lane. Before we get into favorite updates, Brooders, when did you first start playing TSTO?
So it's when the update came to Android. So my first year would have been, 2013, I believe. What year was that? Was that the year of the dreaded wheel?
Yeah, that 2013 was it. Were you there for Whacking Day?
No, I missed Whacking Day, unfortunately. I would love that. Have that revisited. EA, if you're listening, revisit that event.
No.
For us that didn't get to play it, and bring back the wheel.
There's nothing worse than, I know you like to squish and tap things. There was nothing worse than trying to find snakes in people's towns or your own town to tap. No. Don't bring that back. That was a nightmare.
I love squishing stuff. You know that to me.
Yes, but imagine little like wiggly snakes slithering across your screen. Little itty bitty teeny tiny things that you have to find. They were so hard to find. And they didn't stick to roads. They were everywhere.
And especially now with the size of land that we've unlocked. I mean, can you imagine? Back then it was probably like 50 land tiles, and now you're talking about like 700 land tiles. It would just be impossible. It
was a nightmare. Don't bring that back. You can bring something similar back, but not that. Don't bring that back. So you started playing in 2013 after Whacking Day, because Whacking Day was 2013, and that was March of 2013, which is when a lot of people started playing, because that was right when it hit Android. So what is your
really what really got me hooked and what made me completely addicted to the game was the Stonecutters update, because I just found that just enthralling and obviously one of my favorite episodes of The Simpsons ever, and I just had to try and get everything. It was so tough, but I just completely addicted to the game from that point on.
Okay, so the Stonecutters happened in the summer of 2014. So from 13 to 14 you were just playing.
I'd say leisurely player, but yeah, it was the Stonecutters that got me completely addicted.
Okay, so about a year into it, and that's what turned you into, as we like to say, an addict.
Yes.
So what was it about the Stonecutters update that you loved?
Just the characters, the costumes for all the characters, the singing at the table, the decorations, just everything about it. Just loved it, and I still, to this day, didn't manage to complete that event. So when they bought the stone, I know. So I'm going to try really hard as well. This is when donuts, you had to pay for donuts. You weren't making donuts; you had to pay for them. And so for me, when they actually brought it back again, I was just I was over the moon because of the stuff that I wasn't able to get. And I think that's the hook to it, because I wasn't able to get everything. From that point on, I had to collect everything. I had to, and I'm still doing that. I collect everything.
You are a collector, that's for sure. Even how many whales do you have now?
Yeah, quite a few. Remember when that whale came out for 333 donuts? I will snap that up.
I still don't own it. I don't own it. So, Saf, what do you remember about Stonecutters?
I mean, I really enjoyed Stonecutters. For me personally, I also joined in 2013, the day I got my iPad, my first smartphone, smart tablet, or whatever you want to call smart device. And I was hooked on, like, Tapped Out was the first game I had to get because, as you know, like, the game is a love, but for me, this show is a love. Like, I've seen every episode. I have every episode on my hard drive before it was available on Disney. I've seen every episode multiple times. Like some of the early season episodes, I've seen more than 10 times. So like getting the game was a no-brainer for me. Stonecutters is definitely a favorite. In addition to everything Brooders mentioned, I really loved the aspect of the daily challenge that came in with that event, where every day they gave us a little puzzle, and you kind of had to figure which character they were referencing and which task they had to do. And fortunately, most of the time I was able to guess what it was. And for those who couldn't, or if there's ever one that I just want to be sure about, we had a wonderful site that we could always come to and get the information of what that challenge was. So that not only got me very involved with the game, it also got me very involved with this community and coming in and sharing my input on the challenge or finding out what the challenge was for the day. So that was really memorable.
It's really nice though, isn't it? Because they brought those challenges back, didn't they, for Christmas, which again just made my enthusiasm for the game again. I actually enjoyed playing that event, whereas, you know, for a couple of years now, I think it's just been tapping because I'm tapping because I have to collect everything.
Tapping because you're addicted is what it is. Here's what go ahead.
Sorry. Oh no, I was just gonna say Brooders. I completely agree. Like the recent trivia that they had in this past Christmas event was just phenomenal. Like a nice throwback to that, and I'm hoping that we get to see more of that.
I actually quite enjoyed getting the questions wrong.
Well, if you got them wrong, you didn't get a gift card.
No, I know, but I didn't really need the gift vouchers.
So here's what I remember about Stonecutters. I remember it being a lot of work. I remember having a lot of posts, but I remember there were 2 prize tracks. But I also remember the best thing about that was the gameplay itself, not necessarily the prizes. Because if you think about it in terms of what we've got now, we mostly just got skins for this, and now we all complain when we get skins. Outside of number 1 and number 51, I believe everything else was just number 51 was a premium item.
Premium item, yeah, exactly.
Everything else was a costume. So, you know, there were 2 prize tracks you had. You had an emblem prize track, which was your main. Back then, it was 1 prize track with like 10 or 11, sometimes 13 prizes on it, where you just kept collecting a currency throughout the entire event to unlock these prizes. It didn't separate by acts or anything like that. So you had one big prize track that lasted the entire event, and then there was a parchment prize track, and that's where the trivia came in. You had these parchment tasks and trivia you had to do. Puzzles, I think they were called, parchment puzzles. So the emblem prizes, which was the main prize track, you had the sacred parchment as a prize, so that was a decoration. You had number 36, which is Krusty. You had the chest of sacred artifacts, also a decoration. You had the 4th prize was number 85 and number 600, so that was costumes for Willie and Skinner. Then you had the 5th prize was the money pool and number 29, which I believe was Mr. Burns. Money pool by far best prize ever.
I still love that decoration. It is fantastic, and the animation that goes with it, brilliant.
As a huge DuckTales fan, and I'm so excited because Sam is now getting into DuckTales. Anytime I see, you know, somebody swimming through a pool of money, I just giggle. So, and then you had the 6th prize was numbers 50 and 79, which was Wiggum and Disco Stew. And then you had the Stone of Triumph, which was another decoration, but also added to a task for Homer. And then you had numbers 5, 12, and 14. So it was Jasper, Lenny, and Carl costumes. Then you had the Stonecutter table, another decoration. And then you had Satan's Anvil, which is still the weirdest thing, one of the weirdest decorations in the game. The thing about the Stonecutters table was once you had the Stonecutters table and you made, I think it was Wiggum, number 51, Homer, and there's a 3rd one. I can't remember who the 3rd one, Skinner maybe? Once you had made them sing the Stonecutters song at the table and you tapped it, you got free donuts. only once, but that was a cool little hidden Easter egg. That was another little fun little gem they had. And then the Parchment prizes were all costumes. So the first Parchment prize was Mo, number 21. Then you had number 111, which was Grandpa, number 21, which was Quimby. The fourth prize was number 61 and 67, which was Brockman and Arnie Pie. Then you had number 59, which was Smithers, and then the final one was the Ark of the Stone Covenant, another decoration.
I see. Now this is what got me. I didn't manage to get Satan's Anvil and the stone, the animation for Homer, and that's what really, really, really annoyed me about that then. I tried so hard. I even bought donuts.
Yeah. So, but like you look at the prize track, and in compare, like granted, Stonecutters, iconic episode. Everything about it's the same, and there's no other way you could do it other than giving people costumes because they're all the characters are the existing characters. But you look at the prize track, and you're like, well, by today's standards, we'd say this was crap. You know, it's kind of funny how when you look back at these, you're just like, wow, this is, all these costumes, like not even a full character. Well, there was one full character. It wasn't on a prize track. It was awarded once you started the game, and that was number 1 with the Stonecutter Lodge. But beyond that, it was just like costume,
That's the
decoration.
thing, it is an iconic episode, isn't it? It's one of my favorites by far.
And then the Parchment Puzzles. So I popped one up here because I couldn't remember quite what they were, like what we had to do. So for some of you guys to get an idea if you didn't play Stonecutters. So the Parchment Puzzle was like a hint you got every day, and you had to figure out the person that it corresponded with and do a task for them. So like the first hint was a pointy-haired girl yearns to play her favorite instrument. And that would be
Lisa for her saxophone.
Exactly, Lisa playing her saxophone.
Actually, a lot easier question than the ones that got asked at Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Well, these weren't trivia. These were just like figure something. So like this other one was 8 hungry children fed by an overworked shopkeep.
Who feeds his kids. But what I recall was, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the Parchment Puzzles kind of have like a silhouette of the character you need to send? So yeah, they
it had a little so like for Lisa's saxophone one, it had a picture of a saxophone. For the octuplets one, it had a picture of a baby bottle. There wasn't like a silhouette of the character you needed to send. So they were hard. Don't get me wrong. There were some that were were pretty difficult.
Yeah, there were definitely a few where I had to scratch my head and
like
think about it.
This particular one is he communicates with his ancestors in Norse code.
Carl?
It is. It's Carl with his Viking hat. So
he's the only Norwegian I can think of in the show.
But like if you don't know, if you don't have that base knowledge, you don't know. It's hard to do.
But this is it. This is what drew me in, and I think this is where I really became part of your Addicts community, because I needed to be drawn into this. I needed to look up. I needed to know what the answers were. I needed to know how to do the event to get everything. So yeah. So that's why I think also when I came a big part of the community too.
Yeah, I mean now it's just kind of tap and repeat. Wash, rinse, and repeat. It's the same thing over and over again. So you don't need as much about that. The guidance as you did then, which is good and bad.
Too, I also didn't get any of the premium items. I still had very little donuts. I was still at 2014. I had just started working on things, so yeah, I still didn't have the means to purchase donuts. I purchased my donuts right before Black Friday of 2014, or not right before, during Black Friday of 2014. And that's when I started getting the premium items. So yeah, this too, I didn't have all the items. I had a lot of skins for characters I didn't have. So yeah, it was definitely something where I was like, oh, I need to get these donuts to do this eventually. And back then, the subsequent Black Friday was where I really got to catch up. And then, like Brooders, I was so happy that they brought back a lot of the content, and it was like I could finally complete everything. And now you could get a lot of the stuff playing the mini games as well. You could get more hieroglyph walls and more stonecutter walls and so forth. So yeah,
I remember those walls. Back then, we didn't know if something was coming back because they would like Christmas 2012, the first Christmas event, they brought the Maple store to Springfield, and they never brought it back. They didn't bring it back, I think, till like 2015, something crazy. And everybody was like, I want the Maple store, and they never brought it back. So at that point in time, we didn't know if things were coming back because it wasn't a thing that they did. They didn't. Now they bring everything back. You don't get it the first time. You're going to get it 2 months later. So remember those
A little
walls.
bit like them being very cheeky and bringing back stuff that I've bought for real money back into store for donut purchases. I'm like, what? What
They've
are you
only
doing?
done that once. I will say
Ah.
they haven't made that mistake again.
I
They only
caused
did
some
once, I
uproar.
feel
I
like,
caused some
like,
uproar on the forums with that one, I tell you.
The only one I remember is Svengali. They did that with.
Yeah, I kicked up a fuss.
yeah.
I got my money back.
That's the only one they could have done it. That's the only one that I remember. I don't remember them doing it again.
They brought a few back. They brought the witches back, and then of course they brought the donut factory back, which everybody paid £50+ for, which I thought was shocking.
I own all that stuff, so I can't say anything. I lost my train of thought though. What was I saying?
We're talking about the items that they bring back for.
Oh, so with the parchment walls, we didn't know if they were coming back, so you had to buy so many. And I remember so many people were getting locked out of their game for item limit lockouts because they would buy so many walls. It just would their game couldn't load because technology in 2014 wasn't as good as it is now. So it's so funny to think like you're talking about the walls and how they brought them back, and I'm just thinking those locked, like I just kept getting so many comments from people. I'm locked out of my game. I bought 500 walls and I can't get back in. So yeah, that's we've come a long way.
I think that used to be a thing, isn't it? And we used to be screaming out for land all the time. More land, more item limits. Increase the cap.
Some people still scream that. So. Still
if I'm not mistaken, when they brought Stonecutters back, though, with the returning items, they did bring like the new item, right? Like the
tunnel.
The tunnel that leads to it, and then you can build more tunnel pieces. That was a new addition with the relaunch of the or reintroduction of the items, right? So
yeah. So
and then there was a bit of an issue where you placed the tunnels, you couldn't store the tunnel pieces, you couldn't store them, right?
I don't think I bought the tunnel. I think that was something I passed on. But there have been so many issues.
I can't see past a thing. I have to have everything.
There are so many issues like that have popped up over the years. I can't remember every single one. But yeah, so they brought back the trivia aspect or some semblance of that, which everybody loved. That was the one thing everybody was like, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. So they finally brought that back for Christmas this year. Well, technically Christmas 2021, in the form of actual trivia, which was difficult to do. I will say the trivia, if you didn't watch the show, if you weren't like up on things, you didn't know the answers to the trivia. So I think a lot of people appreciated that element of quote unquote difficulty in the game. But they haven't done anything like that. They hadn't done anything like that since. And the current event we're in, they just kind of let all the good stuff that they had brought with Northward Bound and even like Halloween where you had something to squish, and Christmas where you had trivia, they just kind of let it all fall by the wayside for this circus event. So we'll see what that brings, what happens, with the next event after this. But
they had so much fun with that circus event, couldn't they? If they just introduced some sort of swishing clown action, it would have made it so much better.
We don't need clowns roaming around Springfield. we don't need that. Nobody needs that. Nobody needs to see more clowns in Springfield. Come on. But the other thing with Stonecutters was there were really cool neighbor actions from what I remember. We had, you could spy on your neighbors, where you left like surveillance cameras around, and it really was a good sense of neighbor interaction, neighbor community. We don't see that anymore. Even there were some other events that had really good neighbor interactions. We were talking before about Christmas 2015, where you had naughty or nice options. You could leave.
Time favorites because it really got people riled, and they were like promising each other to be nice, and they just weren't. They weren't being nice at all. I got absolutely rinsed in that event.
The thing I always remember is so funny because they used to have these neighbor interactions that required you to communicate with your neighbor, and there was no way to communicate with your neighbor in the game. Which is really why I think the community at Addicts was born, because you couldn't communicate with your neighbors in your game. You had to have some way to communicate with them. So people would use the Addicts site, or even like the EA forums, other places. ToUk was another one. Same thing happened with like Whacking Day 2013. That's why Wookie, Bunny, and myself all were on ToUk back in 2013, because that's how we communicated with each other. So it's just so funny that like there was this element where you needed to communicate with your neighbors. There was no way to do it in the game, but yet people still managed to do it. Like we found a workaround around it.
I love that Addicts was born at ToUk UK. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
What a bit of history, eh?
Yeah, it's that's if not for that site, none of us would have talked to each other on a regular basis. Wook and I bonded greatly over the clown bed, Bart's clown bed. Can't sleep, clown will eat me, because neither one of us could sleep. So it was just really funny. But so yeah, it's good memories for us there. But
Tim's been back actually. He's revamped our site, so we've got a brand new site now. The old one was getting a bit cranky, a bit old, a bit long in the tooth. So it's all been revamped, so it's all running nice and smoothly again now, thanks to Tim, our original founder.
Yeah, so So for those who don't know, Tapped Out UK was I can't speak. Tapped-out.co.uk is basically like Facebook for Tapped Out. I mean, that's the best way to explain it.
We are very much off topic.
They don't really talk about Tapped Out mostly. A lot of times it's conversations about Legos
here and there we do. Here and there it gets in there somehow.
But yeah, so it's a great community building site too. So it's fun.
We've actually got some members there that actually don't play the game at all. They just come to visit us because we're all friends.
Like I said, it's Facebook for Tapped Out. So it's fun. But yeah, that's how Addicts started. Really, well, it's not how Addicts started, but that's how Wookie, Bunny, and I all communicated originally before we had each other's email address or phone numbers about the site. So good memories there. But yeah, so these neighbor interactions. So like Christmas 2015, we talked about where you had this naughty or nice option where you had it when you went into your neighbor's town, you had to choose. And I always feel bad when I talk about these events from the past. I always feel bad for players who just started playing because they missed all these really awesome things. But you had to choose when you went into your neighbor's town if you were going to be naughty or nice. And if you matched up, so if you both picked nice, and then when your neighbor went into their town, they had to decide if that option was naughty or nice. So if you matched up, if you're both nice, I think you got 15 payout of the event currency. If you were both naughty, I think you got 5 payout of the event currency. But the best part was if you picked nice and the neighbor that dropped the thing in your town picked naughty, your neighbor got 25 event payout. So people were saying, "Oh no, I'll be nice, I'll be nice, I'll be nice," and people were being naughty. And because I think it was anonymous too. I don't even think it said who was doing it, so you didn't know.
It was very anonymous, so I kept dropping naughties just for that reason.
Oh, Safi, you're terrible.
Back in the day,
that was a little perk with that game where it was anonymous. If it wasn't, I'd probably be nice a little bit more, but because it was anonymous, yeah, I dropped naughty all the time.
So what Safi's saying is,
don't trust me.
Safi's saying, if he has a bag over his head, don't trust him in a foxhole.
Yep.
if you don't know who he is, don't trust him in a foxhole. Otherwise, he's got your back. If you know who he is.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it, right?
So, like neighbor interactions, I mean, let's talk about a little bit of how the game has kind of evolved since then. I really think once the Family Guy game came out, they had this setup with Family Guy, and that came out in 2014, where they had this model of different prize tracks, like different acts of an event. They didn't call them acts; they called them phases. So they had phase 1 that would last like a week, phase 2 that would last a week, phase 3, and that's how their events played out. People seemed to like that with the Family Guy game because it was always refreshing something. That was 2014. Halloween 2014 was the first time EA turned TSTO into multi-act. They called them phases, multi-phased. I think they called them phases. Might have been weeks. Acts or events. So like 1 week you had this prize track, and then the next week you had this prize track. That's kind of how it played out. And then it's really stuck since then. Now you've got acts. That with Terwilligers they changed it to acts, and then you had 3 acts. Now you've got 4 acts. How do you guys think that has impacted the game? Do you think that's for the better or for the worse? I mean, again, it's been 7 years, almost 8 years of having the prize track in these phases instead of one big prize track where you had 13 prizes like Stonecutter or 10 prizes like Stonecutters. But how do you think that's impacted the game, going forward? We'll start with Brooders.
I think for me, it's not as daunting, is it? If you've got it up, sort of sliced up into little layers like that, it's not as daunting. It's a huge prize track that you're up against, trying to get everything as quickly as you possibly can. And they're also going to slow people down by doing that as well. I think by splitting it up, it's not as if you can just get, unless you donut rush, which I don't like to do. But a lot of people do, don't they? Just to get everything as quickly as possible and then put the game down.
And then the first day of an event, they complain about a glitch. How come prize 4 I can't unlock and this and that? So, well, should you be playing on prize 4 right now? I mean,
exactly.
It's the game the event started 5 minutes ago. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I think what's really missing is the neighbour interactions. There's no real reason now to go and visit neighbours. I mean, we've had all sorts of awesome things, haven't we? Do you remember in the Twilligers dropping those jumping jelly beans everywhere?
The jelly blobs.
Towns. Yeah, the jelly blobs. And then we also had the Easter where you could drop different coloured eggs into your neighbours for them to find. And people were hiding them like behind buildings and stuff, making it really tough. And then what was the one where you got to, the surveillance cameras, that's right, isn't that? Was that Stonecutters?
Yep, Stonecutters, but also the spy event. The spy event, you had a neighbor interaction about spying, but it was just leaving cameras. It wasn't, so.
Didn't we get to drop like those weird creepy men? The one that moved like that?
I think that was, I believe that was the spy event. I don't think that was Stonecutters. I think that was the spy event where you left the incognito guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they started dressing them up in clown wigs, didn't they, for the next event? Do you remember?
Yep. That was what was that? They had like the criminals, they would creep, and then like each phase of it they'd have a different disguise. So like they would be criminals and they'd have a clown wig on, then they'd have a different disguise. I do think that was the spy event though. That the spy event was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think that's really missing. And for me, just neighbour interaction and having something to squish. I mean, come on, bring them back. They're not calling them NPCs anymore, are they? Calling them pets.
Well, they call them pets, and we call them NPCs. They call them pets.
Yeah, but they've just renamed them as pets. I find that a bit bizarre because they were using the NPC thing before, and now they've renamed them as pets.
Well, I guess technically they are playable because if you tap on them, they do something. Or I guess you can send some of them on flights at the airport.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm a collector of all things like that. So those little things that are running around the town, I absolutely adore them. And when I spot one that I haven't seen, for ages, like the dust ball, I'm like, wow, where has that been?
Yes, towns are so big now, you can't find things. Saf, what are your thoughts as far as the shift in gameplay?
I mean, just to piggyback on the neighbor interactions, first of all, I mean, I really do miss it. There's a huge lack of neighbor interaction now. Even like if they just added a couple friendship prize items, I feel like that would reinvigorate that. I mean, it's been a long time since we got the 20th friendship prize. I remember initially it was just 5, and we added like 3, then 1, then like a couple here and there. So what was it, like Mulberry Island was the last one or something like that? I can't even remember. It's been such a long time.
It's probably been like 6 years since they've added something to that friendship prize track.
Like, I feel like if they could add something there, that would be really, really nice and reinvigorate the...
I'd like them to add more buildings that you can tag. So what we're doing in our neighbourhoods now, we're just tagging each other. So we're making it really quite easy for you just to go in town and tag game. Play a game of playing it. We can clean up the town fast.
Be careful. Some people get really mad if you vandalize them.
Do you know what? Some people do, and I just find that absolutely ridiculous. I mean, who would get so upset about having to clean off some spray paint? It's part of the game. So what is it? A 0.5 reduction in percentage at some point? Does it really matter?
Well, your righteousness rating is what gets impacted by it, but it comes back. So it gets hit when you tag somebody. When you clean it, you get it back. You get a little bit of it back. But now they've added so many things. We're seeing originally there was nothing that contributed to righteousness except for training walls, and now we're starting to see items that have righteousness ratings. So you don't even notice it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the fun that we're having with that now. We just tag each other. But if they added more buildings, that would make it even better. Taggable buildings.
Well, let's explore something for a second, because Safi brought up friendship prizes, and EA tends to have this thing where they start something and they don't finish it. So that friendship prizes was one of them. Cecil's daily challenges was another one. We have nothing after the Rock
Money
in the Hard
Mountain.
Place. Money Mountain's another one. Well, the Money Mountain I think did get finished. I think that's
said there's more prizes coming from Money Mountain, isn't it?
And then now we have the season 33 prize track, which I do think that will get finished, because they announced another prize is coming out the end of this month. So that will get finished. But like, why doesn't EA finish these things? I know you guys don't know the answer, but I'm just saying, like, why don't they finish these things? They say more prizes are coming and then they don't do anything. And they're good sidetrack distractions. So like friend prizes are great because it encourages you to go visit your neighbors to get this prize, to unlock this prize. And you can't rush it. You can't, you have to visit the neighbors. You have to collect the friendship points to unlock that prize. Same with the Cecil's tasks. It takes a while because you have to do these tasks. Yes, you can spend donuts on it, but it's going to cost a lot of donuts. It's just interesting that they don't finish these tracks. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Brooders?
I just think EA do an awful lot of things that they leave unfinished, don't they? I mean, I don't really know how to comment on that. That Roads to Riches. I mean, come on, bring it back from the dead. Bring along those little side items, little games that we can do. Oh, I tell you what would be really good if they brought back. Do you remember the casino event? Bring back those card games. They were fantastic. The slot machine card game. Bring those back. They were fun.
What's super funny is you still have the buildings and you can't play the games.
Yeah, bring those games back. They were brilliant. Maybe that's the gambler in me. I don't know.
I mean, I love the mini games for sure. I mean, I think one of the first series of posts I wrote for the site was on the mini games. So like, if they could bring back more of those, finish up these things. I mean, I know people hate those grinding type items like Springfield Heights, but I mean, I really wanted more Springfield Heights prizes. Like, why they capped it? The last prize is at 1 billion real estate value, and the max, and you're capped at 2 billion real estate value.
Can we just talk about Springfield Heights for a second? Can I just say how much I hate Springfield Heights?
I think you've said it many times.
I absolutely hate Springfield Heights.
It's the hot dog cooker bot of your Springfield.
Yes, it is the hot dog cooker bot of my Springfield. The problem I have with Springfield Heights is it's grindy, and it's crafting. It's crafting in disguise, and it pisses me off to no end. So I'm just putting that out there. I don't like things. I don't mind collecting something to unlock something. I do mind having to collect 15 of this and 16 of that and 18 of this and 32 of this and and then to unlock a stupid trophy to buy and then that's to unlock one trophy, and then you need like 7 trophies to unlock a plot of land. Now all my land in Springfield Heights that requires that is unlocked, so I don't have to worry about it. And then the fact that to buy things in Springfield Heights, you won't need to also do this grindy, crafty thing, and I can't stand it. So
I agree. It was really, really painful to begin with. And then they updated it, didn't it, to make it easier for everybody. And I was like, oh my God, I spent so much time grinding through that stuff. And you've just updated it to make it easier. Are you kidding me?
Well, then you have somebody like Safi who has 2 billion Springfield Heights points. And I'm like, dude, I stopped. It took me forever to unlock the final prize, which is, it's not Paris Hilton, but the Paris Hilton spoof. I can't think of her name right now. And I got her and I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. Thank you. I'm not doing this crap anymore. Very grindy, crafty.
But we did it though, didn't we? We did it because we had to. Because you have to get to the end.
Did we have to though? Did we?
Could have just left it all there. Actually, I'm quite enjoying this.
The friendship prize.
Yeah, the new bit though. The new bit with the guy who's digging for axes and stuff like that. I'm actually just really taking my time with that new land.
Yeah,
I've only got a little bit of it opened up.
But that doesn't bother me as much because it's 2 characters I will never use in anything else: Connie Appleseed and Cookie. They're the only 2 I send. I don't send anybody else because I figure I need the other characters for other things. And I don't, I just take my time. It's whatever on that because I don't need the land. So that but it's one. It's you collect one of something. It's not collect 15 of this, then use those 15 that you just collected of this. Like collect 15 pieces of furniture and 18 lattes, and then take those 18 lattes and 15 pieces of furniture that you just spent 20 hours
where we
and turn it into trophies.
To be able to make donuts, didn't we, from collecting trash? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. I wonder if anybody still does that.
Well, people still collect the.
Sorry,
are
you talking about the monorail?
Yes, I say people still do the monorail tracks. Yep.
Yeah, no, I still do that regularly. Yeah.
I took advantage of the glitch that came out, and now Safi.
Now Alissa has to text me anytime there's a beneficial glitch.
Yeah.
So usually it happens when I'm at work. It's like I always miss out on these.
I don't like to bother people, so now Safi explicitly told me if there's a glitch that benefits me, text me, and then I do. That's what happened with the fires.
It happened with the golden pickaxe, didn't it? When that new land was unveiled, and you could go into your neighbours and you could literally mine for donuts endlessly in your neighbours. If they had pink rocks left there, you could go in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah, they fixed that right now.
Thousands of donuts.
That too.
So it's the 10 years of this game. There's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad, but I think
and the ugly.
When you look back at the 10 years, you really see how the game has evolved, how it's changed. And yeah, I think the way you could sum it up is three sections of TSTO. You had the early years, which is 12, 13, 14. And then you have these experimental years where they tried to be more like Family Guy game and then realized they shouldn't be like the Family Guy game. And that was 15, part of 14, but mostly 15, 16, 17, 18. And then you switch over to the new style of play that we have now, and that's 19, 20, 21, and into 22, where it's just, so that middle section was really like the 3 acts, the crafting, it was very grindy. The first half was more like thought went into it, where you had to do the Stonecutters tasks, or Whacking Day, you had to collect these crazy snakes, and the prizes were harder to achieve. Like it was very like Whacking Day, I did not finish that entire prize track. It was very difficult to do. So it was harder to achieve the prizes, but more thought went into the events. Whereas that middle section, everything was just hard, but you could get all the prizes pretty easily. You could craft, you could unlock all the prizes without an issue, but everything kind of ended. It wasn't like if you didn't finish the Act 1 prize track, you didn't get to finish the Act 1 prize track. It didn't carry over. Now we're in this era of like, well, everybody's going to get everything and it's going to be super easy because you just have to clear a town every 4 hours and you get all the prizes. And even if you don't finish a prize track before the next one starts, it's okay. You have the entire event to finish these 5 prizes. But you look at how.
Sorry to cut off, but but it's just interesting. We've done a few of these episodes now, and as you mentioned earlier in this episode too, like now we get a lot more prizes in the
That's what I was getting to.
Great minds think alike.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just funny. We used to think of the golden age and how the events were awesome, and you're getting like 3 prizes and like 15 skins. That's a really good event. Well, like the best event, not just a good event.
In the last episode, we talked about Terwilligers, and Terwilligers, you had 3 prizes on a prize track. 3. The rest of it was crafting currency. And then you got prizes with crafting. But it's kind of like one of these things where we had this really great style of gameplay. And then I wasn't really a big fan of this middle section with the crafting. I didn't like it. And now where you just have, the gameplay is very easy. We're actually begging for more difficult gameplay, but the prizes are so much better now. I would argue that the prizes we've gotten over the last 3 years have been some of the best prizes we've gotten in this game. Don't forget, we got Stonecutters in the past. We got all the Stonecutter skins. We got Sideshow Bob in the past. And I'm still arguing that the stuff we're getting now, even though a lot of it's characters, not costumes, and just different iterations of characters, it's some of the best stuff we've seen in the game over the history of this game, where we've got, you almost always have a building per prize track. You have several decorations, but they're useful decorations, unless they're a hot dog cooker bot. And you generally have a costume or a character with a prize track. So you're getting almost every time with an event, you're getting 20 solid prizes per event, versus before where you'd get 10 prizes, 5 prizes.
Do you not feel that they're running out of the pot though? Because we've just sort of entered this whole metaverse now, haven't we? Where Simpsons characters are relived at different generations at different times, future, past. middle. You know, they're endless. It's like when sometimes you go into a town, you're thinking, God, that's got to be a glitch. But no, it's not. It's because you've got like several Lisas running around.
Well, we did talk about that 2 episodes ago with the Addicts Live. I'll link both of these ones I'm talking about in the corner, which I figured it out, Safi. It'll be this corner right here. So it'll be this side of the corner. But we did talk about that, how we need like canon characters again instead of these different iterations of a character. But I mean, I really would argue that the prize tracks now are so much better. And what are your thoughts as far as that goes? Like, do you think what would you well, 2 questions. Starter, would you think that the prize tracks are better now than they were before? The prizes are better now. And 2, do you prefer better prizes or better gameplay? So Brooders, I'll start with you.
Oh, I would prefer better gameplay. Less prizes, better gameplay. Get me back interested in it. At the moment, I just feel it's like almost like a chore. It's monotonous to me. I just tap, tap, tap. In fact, I barely even read what the storyline is. I'll go back and I'll read the storyline afterwards. Thank you for posting that, because I then go back and read it. But during the gameplay, I'm just in, tap, 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 done. It's I just do it because I have to. It's not something I want to be doing. I feel like it's almost a chore.
So you would rather have a more intellectual way of playing, and I say that not like, you know, we're going to start playing Wordle with TSTO, but like you have more of a reason to play, not necessarily what to unlock, but like like, oh, I really like that aspect. Let me play that again. You'd rather have that than have like a really good prize track.
It's too simplifying, you know. I mean, just bring back something to squash. You know, give me like I've got to get 100 squashed things to get a certain prize. You know, that would keep me entertained. This is not entertaining. This is just tap, 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 done.
Okay. Saf, what do you think?
You know, I would want something hybrid of the 2 eras that you were talking about.
You literally took the words out of my mouth.
Like, like I feel like the prize track, the last couple events has been great. In particular, I'm not talking about the circus one right now, but like Northward Bound, Halloween, and Christmas. They did raise the level of difficulty a little bit and kept the quality of the prizes really good. If they could just increase the difficulty a little bit more, the challenges a little bit more, I think the gameplay a little bit more, I think that they're in this perfect sweet spot. My fear right now is that like going from where we are right now with like these great prize tracks, great dialogue and all that, if we were to bring back a Stonecutters now, like I feel like it would be I remember, growing up, my sister and I, after school, we used to watch the 60s Adam West Batman all the time. And we were like, this is the best show ever. And then when I was in university, I remember going to HMV and they had like the TV show on DVD. And I'm like, let me grab this. So we grabbed it. I grabbed it and I brought it home, and my sister and I watched it. And we're like, we used to like this? Like, what the hell were we thinking? Like, this is the worst thing ever. Like, so corny. And I feel
some of us like corny TV. Thank you very much.
I actually show the show to my nephew. So, yeah, I mean, it's still a good show, but it's just way out there. But I feel like if they were to do the Stonecutter event again right now, our view of it would be completely different than what it was back in 2014. So I don't think it's a great idea to go all the way back to that era. I think our memory of it is kind of cloudy and hazy, but something of a mix of the 2 eras would be great. I think it is time for a new 4th phase, if you will, in your chronology, but they should take kind of the best of the 1st and the 3rd era, leave the 2nd era out. Well, maybe a little bit of experimenting, but yeah.
No, I agree with you. That, I mean, I was actually going to say the exact same thing as far as that. I think that this past Christmas, 2021 was probably the best Christmas event we've had in a very long time. You had really great prizes. None of the prizes on the prize track were a mystery box token, which I appreciated, or a solo mystery box token. I think they were combined, but nothing solo. you had a difficulty element where you had this trivia that you had to answer. And then you had these secondary daily challenges as well that were geared towards the event itself. It wasn't like send criminals to Krusty Burger. It was like send kids to Carol. You know, it was more festive. It was fun. So I agree. I do think we need some kind of hybrid merge into a fourth phase. I mean, personally, looking back at all this, I love the difficulty game style play. I honestly think what we need to do is take the second phase where we had these okay prize tracks. They were the prize tracks in phase 2 were definitely better than the prize tracks in phase 1, but these okay prize tracks, we need to make them better. We need to make them more like the prize tracks in phase 3, but we need to take some of the more fun elements back to the game, because in that phase 2 that I was talking about, that 2015 to like 2018 era, you had things like the casino event where you had mini games inside of an event, and they stopped doing those. And I think they need to bring those types of elements back, because yeah, we're not going to get trivia like Stone or daily challenges or whatever the heck you want to call Parchment Puzzles like trivia, where it's like a brain teaser, or we're not always going to get trivia like we got in the Christmas event. But I think that if you do these fun little interactive games like the casino event, I think that is a good way to engage people back into the game and make it fun, but keep prize tracks great. You know, I mean, don't change the prizes you're giving out because you have a better style of gameplay. But I do agree. I think it is time to enter this fourth phase, and I did think we were going to start to see that with Christmas, and unfortunately, it just didn't carry over into the circus event.
I was so hopeful that was a change for the better when they brought that back at Christmas. I really was, and then they've just released this one, and you just think to yourself, gosh, why not just keep up the momentum there?
Yeah, exactly. And it's so, I know, I don't think, as we've often said, if we had a nickel for every time somebody told us the game was ending, we'd be very rich. So I don't think the game is ending. I don't think that's an issue. I do think this
money.
Yeah, I'd have a lot of money.
It's all the money I'm spending on it because I have to have everything. I'm the one that's buying everything from the store.
So I don't think the game's ending anytime soon. I do think there's still a plethora of ideas that they could come out with, especially since the show's still on. But I do think we need to kind of have, it's getting a little stale at this point, just this shift in gameplay. I think we need to see another shift in gameplay. All right, any other final thoughts on 10 years of TSTL? Just what the game's meant to you, event-wise, anything you wanna share? Brooders, you want to go first?
I can't actually believe it's been 10 years. It just actually scares me that I've been playing that silly little game for so long. Does that not scare you? We're still doing it. We're still playing it. We're still talking about it. We've still got our communities running. I just think it's amazing. But, 10 years is a long time. Where has that time gone?
It's evident in my gray hair, but it's been a long time.
It has. I'm surprised we still have fingers left after all the tapping.
It's true. Saf, do you have any other final thoughts?
No, I mean, I feel like there's always something new. For me, like Bruce mentioned, there was a bit of a lull where it was like, okay, I'm just tapping for the sake of tapping. But then my wife started playing and it kind of reinvigorated me. So, and same in the community, I find that, we're getting all these new people who are coming to the game. We're getting people who haven't played for a while who are coming back. And that kind of reinvigorates the community as well, just like it reinvigorated me and my game. So it's great. I mean, 10 years and still drawing new fans or returning fans, and still has some old school fans like the three of us, or you'll find addicts every walk of life, new addicts, old addicts, returning addicts. We're all here. We're all addicted to this wonderful game.
I agree. And it's always fun when you see somebody that says, I just started playing, or you see somebody that says, oh, I just came back after 5 years of not playing. That's fun too. But yeah, 10 years has been a long time. It's been a very long time. So I am shocked that we're still playing this silly little game, I will say. All right, so that's going to do it from us. Thank you, Brooders, for joining us. This was a lot of fun. You are welcome back.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You are welcome back anytime. I know the time zone's a little difficult. If you can't tell, she's not in America, or North America, I should say, because Safi's not in America either. But
Safi?
Safi's in Canada.
Oh, of course.
It's my neighbor to the north. But we are in the same time zone, so it works out. So I know the time zone's a little bit more difficult to figure out, but you are certainly welcome back anytime. We can make the time zones work. But that's going to do it from us. So thank you everyone for watching. Thanks for listening, and thanks for being a part of this awesome community and playing this silly little game for 10 years. And it's been a lot of fun. So we will see everyone on the next show. Bye.
Bye.